Okay, we are
I don't know.
back in session here.
I didn't look upstairs.
Moving back on to item number 6, in this case number 7. We have First Selectman Jim Zioli here to give his budget presentation for fiscal year 0809. Jim, the floor is yours.
Trevor, you've got a lot of wind in you tonight, I'll tell you. You'll have the big notebook in front of you now. Pam and I worked on it most of last week, on and off, almost every day. I was working on parts, she was working on parts, both separately and together. And then it came back to me on Friday morning, and I had to finish all my thoughts and reviews on it before it went to back upstairs to be printed and compiled and readied for you. I think they were still working on it this morning, as a matter of fact, trying to get it all together. I took out of this budget, which was very difficult to do, approximately $457,000 worth of cuts I made. They won't all be popular, and they weren't all easy. I can promise you that on both of those items. I left some items in for your discretion as a team to review. And you as a team will work to evaluate the needs and true justification of some of those other items. But we have many, many man-hours invested in this, and woman-hours. Pam and I worked a lot on this. But if you go through it, if you skip over, well, you can start right with the very first yellow page is the First Selectman's budget. And if you see down at the bottom, the total percentage of growth there, that was kind of a common denominator as you go through these yellow sheets with me. You'll see a lot of those that don't have a lot of growth in them this year. You might even see some with some minus signs in them. You know, I've had an awful lot of people coming up to me, and they're not, you know, I keep hearing at this table and out there, you know, the seniors. It's not just seniors. You know, the town is very fortunate, as I was just speaking with Mr. Levine there, that, you know, we could buy in the consortiums on electricity, which I had done, and we bid out for oil and fuel products and that sort of thing. But your homeowners, no matter what their age, and property owners don't have that opportunity. And so I was very aware of that in going through this, and we went through it line by line by line, and we were pretty tough on it. And I think I put a real honest budget together. I think it gave you a lot of legs to work on this, and you know, there is some growth in a few areas that might be of concern. There's a few new items, and I'm looking for, you'll find one like off the top of my head, Silverbrook, just for one. There never was a line item before for Silverbrook, and that Silverbrook is the apartment, the congregate living building that the town of Orange owns, and we have a management company that operates. Well, the building is about 15 years old now, and in the past they've never had a block in the budget for repairs. We are responsible for building maintenance and repairs beyond day-to-day use and normal operation. So you'll have a line in there like that. And then you'll come to other just regular old hat that you've seen for years and years that I just wasn't able to cut some of the things out of them. I mean, it's very, you'll still see some, you know, 3 and 4% increases in some certain specific departments, but you'll see some huge drops in some things. You know, there's a huge drop in the Board of Finance budget for some reason, Pam. How come? You'll see a lot of no increases. You'll see some creative money where I took money out of one program, shifted it to another, which it stalled the growth in their overall increase, but it was able to apply money to areas where we thought were more advantageous. We removed money from some requested budgets and added part of that money to other budgets to keep some of that funding within the town boundaries. I balanced some things out that way. You'll see again the police department requested 4 cars. I only allowed 3 cars in my version of it, I guess I'll call it. They asked for 2 new officers. You'll see the chief does a great job there. I don't want to dwell on one department, but he asked for 2 new officers again. We're currently down 3 officers, and we had 2 officers come in for notification of retirement, I think the end of June. So we'll be down 5 in calendar year 08 at different times. So, but with our seatings in the academy and all, it'll take that time to fill those 5 existing slots that are programmed into the budget. So it's not that I didn't want to provide it, but there's things that we have knowledge of, I have knowledge of, that caused that shift. We went through, we looked at different expenses. I met with different people. I'm looking at the assessor's page right now. He came in, and the appraisal services, I had knocked it part, and he said to me, no, you can go down 2. And he brought the number down another 2,000 to the 16,000 number there on appraisal services. We were able to adjust things, the printing and binding and training and automobile allowance. We were able to adjust all of those. He was in, and I talked with him about these, you know, what do you really need? And most of our departments that I talked to one-on-one were very receptive to this. You know, so this is how I did it. It was difficult. You'll see even the director of finance. Nobody was left untouched. You'll see Pam's request came to me at 4.93%. You see what I sent Pam's request back to her at, 1.56%. You know, and we talked about it. It's, you know, it's not that she, you know, didn't see it. The tax collector came in at 1.04% up. I sent it back at minus 1.82%. You know, and they still can operate within these numbers. I mean, and if you go through here, page after page after page, you'll see what I did, and they're all going to have their opportunities to come to you and explain. There's a couple positions in here that I left. I felt it was better that you as a team evaluate those positions when those departments are before you. The fire marshal is asking for a second part-time inspector, and there's a long narrative with it, some included by the town council, and some from data that he's collected elsewhere. You know, be sure you read that and understand that before we make the decision. OVNA is looking for assistant director. They sent over a budget looking for that educator position again. Well, that was removed, and they're looking for an assistant director. And when you get to meet with Joanne Davis, she did send you a good narrative. She has a bunch of graphs and chart with hers as well. Joanne Davis started with us last July, and currently at half year right now, her revenue report is showing $450,000 revenue at half year for OVNA. You know, so the patient count is up over 60. So she'll be before you, and she'll be able to explain what her needs are there, and I left it for you as a team to evaluate. The library is looking for a teen, I'll call it a teen librarian. I don't know enough about teen librarian position, so that I left up to this board as a team to evaluate to see.
Is that part-time or full-time?
It was 20,000, so I'd say it's part-time. The highway department, they had $35,000 in there for what turned out to be a truck body for a 15 or 16-year-old truck. I told them I'm not putting a new body on a 15 or 16-year-old truck for $35,000. So the truck is worth at best, and it's rotting out. So we're holding off on that for this year. We may put that into the capital purchases next year. However, they did have a pickup truck go almost a year ago, and I wouldn't let them buy another one. And so as part of the trade-off, we put in the state bid for a new pickup, Omaha Orange, Fisher Plow, the whole thing is about 22 change. So that was the trade-off from the $35,000 for a second small truck, which they use for intersections, the mechanics use for delivering and picking up equipment when it's not the snow season, but it is also available to do municipal buildings and intersections and that sort of thing. If you guys wanted, you could buy the first selectman one of those even. I don't want orange, but you can buy it anyhow. But that's how I and Pam went through this budget, and you know, I truly believe we took it apart line by line, read every narrative. Last year, my first year in, remember, was a budget that was already set before I got here. My second year to compile a budget was this past year, and I worked at it, and it was pretty good, but we worked away at it pretty hard. And this year, knowing the department's a lot better and seeing how things are working, we're able to really put a real grip on it, you know. I mean, and the departments appreciate that. I mean, it's not that I don't understand. I'm in and around each of these departments. You know, it makes quite a difference. I watch the way things are going. Sometimes people think when I wander in and, hey, how are you, and talking, that maybe I'm just there to visit and have a cup of coffee or something. And I'm watching, you know, I had Pam install a credit card access. It's available at Community Services and at Park and Rec. It's predominantly used at the Park and Rec department, and for the first half of the year, deposit in just from Al Chiaranzelli, our treasurer, set up a separate account that the credit card deposits go into at day's end. $45,000 has been collected up through the end of December just in credit card swipes, and that's predominantly through the Park and Rec department. So that was another move we made in collecting funds, and a lot of people are, I'm sorry, Kev, am I putting you to sleep?
No. Not yet.
You know, that was another way. We actually increased revenue coming in because a lot of people who would pay part of a program or just put the deposit down now will go in and say they're entering their children in camp. They'll swipe their card and they'll pay for the whole 2-week session instead of just putting the deposit in, or they may pay for multiple weeks, and then they are able to budget for it at home. It's on their credit card bill, and it helps them operate more efficiently in their own household so they know what their debt is they need to handle. But that's really the best I can tell you, and you'll see as you look through it, you're going to say, holy smokes, he really did. I made one mistake. Police services, there is one. I talked to the chief after we talked about it, and there's one. I gotta find it. There's one. Let's see, Pam, if you correct. I don't know if I told you to.
Public safety.
Found it to correct it. What it is, it's the telephone system, the 911 system.
Reverse 911?
I believe we already made that correction, Jim.
It was, he asked for 4,000, but it had no usage, and I figured it was just driven by, you know, usage. And since it is an emergency situation that would be used, and of course, you know, I pushed to install that. I thought it was a really good thing. Let's see, I don't think I have the backup page to it, Pam.
I'm not sure which item you're talking about. I know we corrected
I
one.
got it
but
here. It's on police general services.
530.
It's, yeah, item 530.
Okay, emergency notification.
I don't have the, Pam, I don't have the reprinted page of that, I don't think.
That looks like you cut it by 2,000.
Right, I did, and in talking to the chief,
Yeah.
that's not usage driven, that's a maintenance fee, and it's driven by the number of numbers that it will use. So that number,
It's a fixed.
according to Bob, has to be,
Fixed number.
yeah, it has to be 4. Yep.
Thank you.
Because I talked to him about what I had done, and,
Okay.
you know, so that's where that one comes in. Just want to see if I did get the new sheet for that one. No, Pam, I didn't get a new sheet of that page.
Okay.
Just
I'll
so
make
you
sure
know.
you have it
All right.
tomorrow.
But other than that, that's truly where we are. And I hope, you know, like I said, I was a little stunned. It's a lot of money, but it seems a shame that the town side of the operation every year repeatedly is getting beaten down,
Oh, that's where I want to see.
and the two education systems. And education is important. That's what we offer to people who live in our town. But we also offer, you know, other services, and we're constantly trying to think smart. And a famous man of town always has a comment to think smart and do more with less. You know, we keep doing more with less, but I sometimes wonder if the other 2/3 of that compile our budget are doing more with less, and you know that concerns me.
It has something to do with controls generally from an organizational point of view. Not that there aren't controls in other places, it's just that I guess from the earliest days of business school, that's what you're taught.
I guess, I mean, I don't know, I mean, the administrators don't live here. You know, the board members do live here, but the administrators don't live here in either system. And I think that's rather important. You know, I mean, I have, for myself, in going through those pages that I did, I have an investment in the community. And I feel that every day, besides sitting upstairs here. And, you know, when you live here and eat and sleep and spend your income here, that's a little different than getting in your car at the end of the day and going home.
Yep.
Sorry, Pam. But, you know, I think that's important, and I really think we need to get that message across, that, you know, as it is, with the growth that Mark's predicting, remember that growth number that you look at is driven by the second year of the 5-year phase-in. So it's not like at this point, we do have some great things coming along for the town. There is some new development and all coming along. But right now, it's not here. And I mean, we're working on it. We've been working on it, but these things don't just happen. So that growth number is strictly your people who are already here's second year of their phase-in. So we need to be diligent in this and work that number so that that mill rate is down, so that our people can afford to continue to be comfortable and survive here, and you know, are able to sleep at night without worrying where it's going to come from. So with that, I don't know if anybody has any questions for me, but
I have an observation. I've been working here while you've been talking. I think I got the idea from reading this first part, Jim. And that's this. If I may, Kevin, I'd just like to throw it up on the screen with your permission.
Does it pertain to the town budget? Or?
Yeah, it has to do with, I read this, and I've got a slide that I think portrays what's
long
there.
as-
Has exactly to do. As a matter of fact, what I did, guys, is I looked at page 4 of the first section. Okay. So that's correct.
Page 4.
Tim, did you have a good time in the Keys?
I had a wonderful time.
Did you at
with
least
these.
try a
I
pizza?
can't wait to go back.
I noticed he has a tan.
Well, as tanned as Jim gets, I guess, huh? Let me see here. That would be that divided by that. I'll throw it right up there in a second, gang. Okay, so that would be, copy that, and there, paste. Okay, let's see, F8. All right, that makes it both. Okay, what I see there is that we have right now, and again, I apologize for these being small, but what we can do to make them larger is very simply do something like this. Row height, make that a 30, and then just make these numbers a lot larger. Okay, what I see happening here is this to the town, in the town budget. We have a request, if I read your numbers right, and that's the 19,529, 526 guys on page 4, third column from the right-hand side, subtotal town budget. The fourth one over, and that is what was requested by department heads, if I understand this right, Jim and Peter.
That's correct.
Okay. Last year, the actuals were 18,517, 860. So the increase that was requested by the town departments was on the order of a little over 7.75%. And the amount of money was $1,442,000. It's just the math here. That's all we're looking at is the math here, right? If I read what the first selectman Zioli just walked in with was, hey, first cut I took at it was a 19,529. So that amount of money increases that. So the amount of increase is what's shown right there, 5.46. But what Rich mentioned to me, and I had kind of eyeballed, but I hadn't done the calculation yet, but when I did, I threw it on here, is if you add in, take out the benefits increase, which probably, Richie, we have the least control over.
Yeah, they're towards the back there.
Yeah, all right.
14%.
Yeah, a 14% increase, which translates to, so the amount of increase, whether you say it's the request, department request, or what the first selectman's bringing in, is over half. Okay, now if you just let me change this to percent, you can see that two places, since we love to have two decimal places, that if you take out the benefits a part of it, that he's bringing in something that's not a lot of dollars. I mean, that's just the data. That's just the data. And I empathize with
Said it was
students, you know, but that's what we got.
Yeah, that's our, yeah. Thanks, Jim.
And yet, when we have it right now, it's 5.46%, which, going back to our little graph just a second ago, right? Kevin and I came up with, starts to sound like 5% for the town. We've already heard 5% for Amity, thereabouts, and I'm not sure what's going on with the Orange BOE
We'll
budget.
find out within the next couple weeks on that.
You're there.
You know, so that could tell you that we're walking out to our friends and neighbors, including our own pocketbooks, while we have these $600 oil bills monthly, that there'll be an 8% increase in residential taxes.
I'm not looking for that. So,
Well, I'm not either.
that's why,
I'm
I
just
mean-
saying that's the data.
yeah, no, I understand, and that's why, and Jim, I thank you for putting that other slide together. That's very helpful for me. You are much better at
Well, you know,
computers
that's what
than
I
I
do.
am
mean,
there.
You know,
But I mean, that's,
that's what we got.
you know,
here.
that
Quickie
shows
summary,
you,
all right?
that shows you what it is, right there. And,
I mean, that's
know.
one of the reasons why this board was, you know, asking the questions it was of Amity tonight.
Yeah.
And we'll probably ask the same questions
One
again.
A here, Jeff.
you know?
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I'll have to talk to my typist about that. Yeah.
but that's where we are. I mean, and Pam will tell you, that was, was kind of funny. It wasn't funny, but I mean, it was at the time. She says, and after we went through, we spent hours on this behind closed doors there. I think, you know, it was pretty crazy. And after we got pretty well done with everything that I could handle, and Pam goes, well, now here's the bad pages. You can't do anything about these. And they're
numbers.
all the fixed costs. But I want you to consider something. And I think this is important, and Pam's heard this story probably 5 or 6 times already. But my parents, who are up there. That's as far as I'll say. They definitely are senior citizens. Had their health insurance. They're supplemental to Medicare. They were paying $400 and change, almost $500, I guess, a month in supplemental insurance. So some friends of theirs signed on with HealthNet. So they told my mother the prices, and she couldn't believe it. So she called this insurance company representative, and the lady came over and met with them. And my mother's pretty good with insurance, being that she handled a lot of that for 50-plus years in their business, I guess, as well as doing other parts of it. And when I went home that night to talk to them about how they found out with their insurance, she was able to sign her and my father up for this new program, which actually had some better coverages that they didn't have in their current Blue Cross plan, for $78 or $79 for each of them per month. So they went from paying $400 and change a month to about $160 a month. And there's a lot of seniors out there that are, looking for this, for ways to do. So the woman has called here, and I haven't returned her call yet, but we're in negotiations with 2 unions, and we have 3 more coming forward. Or we could look into it and go to each of the unions at a later date to present to them what the plan is, and if it is something that we could get them, to buy into. Because the plan we have right now is a very good plan, but it's costing the town of Orange gross about $17,000 change, Pam, is that right? Per family plan. Now they do have co-pays there of plus or minus 10% as a safe figure. Some pay a little more, some a little bit less at this moment. But we're netting probably 15 grand a household on this family plan. And there are opportunities out there that we should probably at least explore. I think I have a couple people that I'm going to put together in a committee to help meet on this. Some of them are, one of them is on my board, who you all know well, and a couple others. And I think that we should at least explore the avenue to find out what it means to the town of Orange, because the town of Orange is spending over $4 million in health insurance. And that number just keeps going. What was this year's increase? Was it another 6%?
It averaged, about 8%.
8%.
Total.
So, I think this is something that we owe it to our residents. And this all just transpired within the last 2 weeks. But I think that's something that we all need to think about. Explore the coverage and explore everything about it to see if it is the same or better or worse, so we know exactly what it is, and consider this avenue or another avenue of similar liking. But when you're talking $4 million,
You're planning to do it for this budget?
I don't think we'll get it done in time for this budget. Like I said, this just all happened in the last 2 weeks. So I think that's something, though, that we will be exploring, and you will be hearing more from me on. That comes back to your famous statement again there, more with less.
Got to.
In these times. So, if any of you have any thoughts on that, or if any of you know anything more about it that I know, please feel free to contact me, email me, call me, whatever. But I think it's important that we at least explore that opportunity.
Absolutely.
Right?
Okay, thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else have any other comments, questions, before we move on?
Yeah, we got 2.36 to work with.
What's that?
We got 2.36% to work with.
Yeah, we're gonna revisit that.
It's a pretty good carrier, Ralph.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Pam, you have for the review and discussion of the 08 revenue expenditures, which is moving on to item number 8. You have a summary you just want to cover?
Yeah, actually, in the interest
Since we don't have any transfers,
of
right?
time this evening, I'll try to make it as brief as possible. I did provide you with our monthly memo, and simply highlighting that We are going forward with our Phoenix financial software upgrade on payroll and HR component. And I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware that I am requesting to be on the agenda for the February Board of Selectmen meeting. We are hoping to get approval to contract with our current actuary, Milliman Associates, to comply with the GASB 45 requirement. They did provide us with a fee of $14,000, and as I note in my memo, I did speak to other towns, including Woodbridge, and I did determine that their rate was competitive. So stay tuned. I will let you know how that's coming. And we did have the discussion with regard to the annual report earlier this evening as well as last week. It is in the final stages. We expect it to go out to the printer probably by the end of next week or early the following week, and hopefully available by the end of February. As far as the 0708 report year-to-date, this meeting, as you know, is later than they normally run each month, so your information is as of December 31st and somewhat dated at this point. However, it does reflect that we're under projection on the expenditures by about 14%, and our revenues are exceeding projection at this point by about 4%. So that does put us in a relatively healthy position at mid-year. And there is nothing really outstanding on the reports over what I reported last month, but I would certainly be happy to address any questions.
Does anybody have any questions on the revenue side to begin first? No one? Okay.
I just have one, Pam. Something I could have done if I went back into my files, but I didn't.
If had an extra day in Key West, you might have got done, right?
What's that piece of
You
line
lost your chance then, didn't you?
Extra
You
day in
only
Key
knew
West.
I'm in the middle seat with my computer putting this presentation together. It was not a pretty sight. I'm just curious, since tax collector, that item, still one large bucket. But does year-to-date net, does that sound like 57.3%? Apples to apples to last year?
Yes.
We are
Sound about
actually,
right?
yes,
Yeah.
we're at 58.6 last year at this time.
So apples to apples, we're down 1.3.
It was, we actually had less revenue, obviously more projected, so we were less than 1%. 58, what did I say, 58.6?
6.
I'm sorry, my own handwriting, I can't
Yeah.
even read.
Well, what I'm trying to do is do my quote, as Jack would call it, a forecast, right?
Right.
Based on history, and if at this point in time last year it was 58.6, and this year it's 57.3, I'm not saying that therefore there's, the sky is falling. I'm just trying to get my arms around it.
No, actually, and I need to clarify this because we've had this discussion before, and that is the danger in forecasting and just automatically assuming, since you're at half year, that will double, because there are plenty of components in here that are either taxes that people have paid in total and or taxes that they will be paying. Motor vehicle, for example, is a good example.
Right.
So it doesn't give you the whole picture, is what I'm trying to
A lot of it, Jim, on the revenue
explain.
side is timing. A lot of it is,
Well, I'm just, what,
If you look at the supplemental motor
Right.
vehicle, those taxes really aren't due until January 1st, and you're already showing they've collected almost 79,000 there, so
Exactly.
you gotta be careful with the revenue.
Yep.
John, 79,000?
Supplemental motor vehicle.
Oh, supplemental. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, that's usually people, they have until the 31st.
I was looking at motor vehicle, I'm
Yeah,
saying.
this was as of December 31st, so they paid it early to take their tax deduction probably.
Huh.
And for our meeting, did you have a run out of these for us?
Yes, I will.
Talking about the meeting on the 8th.
Right,
Yeah.
yes.
That way we'll pick up
Yep.
January and
Yes.
Yep.
be a little newer.
Okay, any other questions on revenue? Moving on to expenditures. Any questions on the expenditure side from anyone?
So this
No.
is 5-month view, Pam, right?
I'm sorry?
Is this a 6-month view, Willie?
6 month, yes, through December 31st.
Public Works refuse, that's the transfer station budget?
Yes, it includes the transfer station.
So we're at 63.23% on that.
Correct.
Is there some upfront cost associated?
I think you need, once again, to look at the encumbered portion, because a lot of the expenditures have not yet occurred, but yet they're included. So they reflect total expenditures through the year end, but it's not conclusive either, so it's a little bit misleading.
Got it.
Is that snow removal, 60%, Pam?
Yes, again, a lot of the sand and salt has been used, however,
ice.
they refilled for the stockpile.
That again is encumbered money too, isn't it?
I believe it is,
It
I'm
is.
trying to
Yep.
get there, thank you.
So,
Okay, anything else on the expenditure side? No? Okay. Okay, moving on. Does anybody else have any questions regarding anything else as far as the budget? No? Because we're going to have our budget meeting on Friday, February 8th, where Jim indicated that everything that's in this packet, in this big binder, most of it will be presented on that workshop day from the major departments that will be presented. So you'll have your opportunity to ask questions to each and every department and go from there. Okay? Being nothing more, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Ralph. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Moffett. I saw you raise your hand.
just thinking.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. We are adjourned at 9:54. Thank you. Have a great evening.